In this video, I have a lot of important things to say about the International Mandela Effect Conference.
I did try to be diplomatic. You know, it really sucks because I got all this video. My plan was to assess the entire International Mandela Effect Conference, speaker by speaker. I'm one of the speakers.
We will find the answer within ourselves, by ourselves, not through any groups or organizations.
Now that it's not just Mandela effects, they're talking about everything because they were well aware that everybody was pissed off about something. Disappointed because I didn't understand why some of the speakers were there. You know, if I'm going to be on a Mandela Effect conference, I'm going to bring the Mandela Effect into it. I could see why a lot of people were confused. They're going to get 10 different pieces and they're all not even going to be from the same puzzle.
I don't need any conferences, I don't need any gatherings, I don't need to listen to anybody else on YouTube, neither do you.
This only was brought on because of the third day. I don't understand why I even have to break it down. We have a mental health doctor joining the conversation at an International Mandela Effect conference.
So my background is within clinical mental health counseling.
She's a brain doctor, people.
With trauma. She is not going to come out and say, you guys are all sane, this is awesome that you're seeing changes in history. This is a week's worth of video. A lot of my emotions got away with.
Implying that we're mentally ill, and she fucking did, so I don't want to hear it.
Protecting my fellow Mandela affected people from being diagnosed.
If anything, any kind of trauma lifted a veil so we're able to see truth.
These people are Mandela Effect experts, and I never heard of them. That's weird. And the International Mandela Effect Conference is trying to save face. But I really think some things need to be said.
I think Lauren Cannell needs to step down from. And I just feel like there are people out there trying to corner the market on the Mandela Effect.
I want the International Mandela Effect Conference to change their name. I want them to think. I'm just thinking, thank God this thing wasn't live channel. I will not be associated with any groups, and I really just want to get back into doing my thing because that's what it was always about for me, and that's where it's totally going back now. I'm going back to doing my thing.
Besides Scarab Performance being absolutely right, it's their presentation. They can put on there what they want.
But for a lot of new people coming in, they would represent the Mandela Effect community, and that is not true.
I agree that there's going to be other things coming into play that people are going to investigate to find out if they can get answers for this.
Most people say, I've already seen other channels talking about it. They're not talking about the Mandela Effect. Every once in a while you get something here and there. I'll be fair. I'm going to assess it, and I'll be fair. I want them to succeed. I wanted them to do well. I just think the International Mandela Effect Committee should seriously consider changing their name if this is how it's going to continue.
Now we got this person out there wanting to label us because we are not going along with the narrative. Label us as mentally ill.
I could not listen to it live. I was just going to get upset in chat and start saying things that I would regret later. I'm seeing something wrong with the direction of this Mandela Effect Conference, this International Mandela Effect Conference. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like the shit that's going on out there. It doesn't. Why? How do you call yourselves International Mandela Effect Conference when you have people talking about other things? And they asked me to be on. I could have been on. Oh wait, I was on. You know, and it doesn't matter because I really think the whole thing individually was individual speakers speaking about different things. It had little to do with the Mandela Effect and the community of the Mandela Effect. A lot of the people speaking were not in the Mandela Effect community. Most of them, I don't know.
And I started to assess each talk, to at least 3 of them. 2 of those 3 I really enjoyed. It should not have been in a Mandela Effect conference. You get into a big group like IMEC, they control the narrative of the Mandela Effect if they become bigger than everybody. Whoever the biggest channel is going to control the narrative of the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect cannot be owned. It is not owned.
I could sit there and nitpick every single interview. No, not every single interview. Some of the people there are to talk about Mandela Effects. I just don't think the committee did a very good job of vetting the information. I know they didn't because they didn't know I was going to be on.
And I just feel like there are people out there trying to corner the market on the Mandela Effect, and I think it's a joke. Go out and do your own channel, do your own videos, put out your own opinions on what you think is going on.
Just feel like there were other agendas being pushed. And the whole week was It was very traumatic for me.
It's a good thing. These people didn't want to say the word Mandela. I'm enjoying them. They just don't belong in a Mandela Effect thing. That's what I don't get. Yeah, it was called Revelations. I mean, I didn't like that title after seeing the whole thing. I don't know what they could have called it, but it was just too much non-Mandela Effect information. Everybody brought in their own belief system and started correlating it with the Mandela Effect and didn't even correlate it enough. They should have done it more. If they had done it more, nobody would have been able to say a thing.
I want the International Mandela Effect Conference to change their name. I want them to take Mandela Effect out of the title. Or I want them to just disband and start over. Any new people are coming right to this thing, and they're just going to get puzzle pieces and from different puzzles. They're going to get 10 different pieces, and they're all not even going to be from the same puzzle. If you truly wanted to have a Mandela Effect conference, the speakers would have been people that everyone knows that have been talking about Mandela Effect.
I'm disagreeing. I think there should be more Mandela Effect speakers. Not new age speakers or people speaking because they're big time on Gaia.
Where a lot of it seemed like it was just new age information coming out. Look, I resonate with that stuff, so, it's okay with me. A lot of other people are upset about that. That's, this was supposed to be about the Mandela Effect.
It's like I want to assess the thing overall, and it's hard to because you have channels that aren't talking about the Mandela Effect channels. You have speakers speaking about other things. I believe they say the word Mandela Effect because they were asked something about it.
Why is it called the International Mandela Effect Conference? And you have people talking about other things. It's not the right title. It's have a consciousness conference. That's what this is so far. I'm in it Wednesday. This is a consciousness conference. If I go to a Mandela Effect conference, I want to hear people speak that have been affected by the Mandela Effect and their experiences.
I am not associated with any group.
I was very passionate, very emotional when I recorded a lot of that stuff. I still feel the same way, but I'm using my emotions in a different way. From what I've seen, it looks to me like the International Mandela Effect Conference is trying to corner the market on the Mandela Effect to guide the narration, to guide the narrative of the Mandela Effect.
Their theme was Revelations. Now it says to me that there's an answer. These are answers, not suggestions, not possible things that we should look at to discover this or that. And saying these are Mandela Effect revelations. Is saying this is an answer, this is your answer, this is the answer. I'm not sure. It's revelations. It's a revelation. This is it.
If they're going to have speakers that are speaking about things that have nothing to do with the Mandela Effect, they should state that right up front. It is. I think most of the speakers could have correlated Mandela Effects or the Mandela Effect topic with their presentations, and they just didn't. It's a Mandela Effect conference. I'm not interested in half the speakers.
I want to say that I enjoyed 3 presentations right off the get-go that did not talk about Mandela Effects. People were going there for the Mandela Effect, and they're affected by other stuff as well, and they're contradicting what these other people believe. You should have known, the International Mandela Effect Conference should have known to keep it based on Mandela Effects. I understand that when people look for reasons and why, when, why is this happening, when did it start, what's causing it, when you go to look for answers like that, you're going to come across other subjects, you're going to come across other things, and some people are going to believe and some people aren't.
It's the newer people that I'm worried about. Us people that are bouncing stuff off back and forth, it don't matter.
And to me, it's like now you have other people not talking about the Mandela Effect that are Mandela affected. Some that are involved with the IMEC.
I think there was a number of other people who could have spoke more on the Mandela Effect, not just grabbing somebody who's a big speaker on Gaia. I'm sorry, I'm not agreeing with that. And it's a shame because, what the woman said wasn't bad. I mean, it was okay. I just don't see where this had to do anything with Mandela Effects. And She had the choice to do that. She could have. She knows what this thing's called.
So I know a lot of people put a lot of work into this IMEC, right? And I don't think it was vetted properly. I think they could have probably done a much better job of vetting the information and keeping it Mandela Effect based, except that some of the people that are involved in the actual on the committee, even their presentations were not necessarily based on the Mandela Effect. So I'm a little confused about that. The first couple of days of the International Mandela Effect Conference, I listened to a couple of the things. I didn't understand why some of these people were speaking.
My overall assessment is probably like everyone else's. It was a failure because there was not enough Mandela Effect material in it. Guess what? My video was the same. I correlated the Mandela Effect with it because that's my truth. That's my story. I guess I could assess myself. I don't know yet. I got to watch it because I'm going to see it with you for the first time. Believe me, it would have been more Mandela Effect if I knew the rest of the thing was just going to be a couple of Mandela Effects in between here. I spoke my truth. I said what I needed to say.
Because of everything that happened the first 5 days, I really was wondering how it was going to go over. Because people did think that tried to get me to do it in the middle of the week or whatever. That's not the case. That thing was done.
I don't think it was any more than information I've already put out on videos.
I believe it was Cynthia Sue Lawson who emailed me asking me if I'd like to be a speaker in Connecticut. I was under the impression there was going to be almost 20 speakers.
I don't know, the whole idea to have 21 speakers in 3 days, 7 speakers a day.
I just felt like it was too many speakers in that amount of time.
It seems like sabotage to me.
To me, these things are that you interact with other people, not just listening to people talk. And there would have been,
hanging out with people that are like-minded, and you go about to dinner and do other things that are in that town and hanging out. And to me, that we did some of that in Ketchum, and that's what I enjoyed the most. The speaks, the talks, they were good.
So
they
I
were
declined.
okay.
Mainly, I felt there was too many speakers out there. I was planning on going and interacting with the people, but I didn't want to be a speaker. I feel like I would have missed something. Too much to retain.
If I was planning on going, they asked me to be a speaker, and I declined, mainly because I felt like there were already too many speakers. I never heard of like 3 or 4 of them, and I was like, well, that's weird. These people are Mandela Effect experts, and I never heard of them. That's weird.
So then the crown mystery of 2020 shows up, and they decide to do it online.
Kim's a good friend. She called and asked how I felt about doing a small segment during her presentation. So I don't consider myself as one of the speakers in this presentation. I mean, I was the last speaker in the presentation. But I always considered myself as a prop in Kimberly Lynn Hansen's presentation. I want you to look at that as if it was her presentation, and she did a good job. I think she did a great job.
I think Kimberly Lynn Hansen did a great job on editing together all the crap I gave her. I think it was fun. I think it made it for a good ending. Yeah, I think it's a damn shame. Kim's presentation was fantastic, or my presentation, whatever. I was the prop. It was fantastic. It was exactly what I wanted to say to segue what she's trying to show us and what I want to teach. I really liked my presentation. Watching it live, I was just too nervous, not knowing what the heck was going to happen, because Kim was the one that directed it and edited it. And I'm telling you, the second time watching it straight through, I liked it. I got the message I wanted out. Look, if I knew what was going on, I would have put more Mandela Effects in it. And it's a damn shame because of all the other stuff that was going on. Because we haven't even gotten to the stuff that I'm passionate about yet.
May 20th, she contacted me. I started to give her some ideas, and she was like, no, we're going to do it this way. It's her presentation. So I said, okay, I'm in. I'll do it for you.
And of course, her presentation is the example. She uses what she's trying to teach to make her presentations.
It was like, 3 days later, we're on the phone, and she says, stop trying to get out of it. I never said to her I was trying to get out of it. I was going on in my head about how I was not in the mood to do this. I did not want to do it. I did not want to. I didn't care. I said, "Oh, absolutely, I'll do you a favor. I'll do it, no problem." And then when she told me what she wanted to do, I was like, "I really don't want to go through all that. Put my suit and tie on, move the bookcase."
See, what she's teaching, I used to find out if I should even do this. And it was an absolute yes right up front, and I didn't even question it. I knew I was going to do it.
Somebody asked me, "Did you just do that on the fly after all these people were coming out not talking about Mandela Effects?" And I went, "No. If that was the case, that's all I would have talked about. I wouldn't have brought anything. I wanted to. My point. I wanted to bring up the circle cloud." And the at least 8 mathematical symbols that I saw in the sky that day. That's what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted everybody to understand how I got to that. It was a wisher-washer that Kimberly...
Unfortunately, if there was more said about the Mandela Effect during this thing, my presentation would have been absolutely perfect as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure it was anyway, but there was not a lot of Mandela Effect information. It is what I've learned through the Mandela Effect. And it would have taken a lot longer for me, because of who I am, to decipher all that and figure it all out. Instead, I ended up going to Ketchum and finding the information there. I thought the ending of it was great. I think it was a great way to end the thing. It really affected me, and I hope it affected other people that watched it. I hope they enjoyed it. And yeah, I was a speaker, and I'm ridiculing my own. Kim did a great job putting that together, especially for my attitude when I was doing it with her. I just wasn't into it, and I kept putting myself in character and trying to stay on point. I did speak about Mandela Effects. I got it in there. But no, if I knew this was going on, geez, I figured, you know, hey, if the whole thing's Mandela Effect, I could talk about my circle cloud, whatever. But it wasn't. I just chimed in with the rest of the people, bringing stuff out that is not really Mandela. Well, it's not. It is. For me, it was, though. And I expressed that. For me, this was Mandela Effect related. All of my answers were right there in the sky. I was just too nervous the whole time, especially because of what was going on. Now we get into Regina Murray.
Okay, big name on Gaia. My first thought there was, well, she was just brought on because she's a big name on Gaia and friends with somebody and they know about the Mandela Effect, but they didn't seem like they call it the Mandela Effect or really associate that much with it.
And I see where some things connect with the Mandela Effect that I don't even think that she doesn't want to say. Why is that? I mean, that's what bothered me. And this is all personal. This is my channel. I'll say what I want.
And I get into the second one with Regina. She's not talking Mandela Effect. She's talking about her connection with spirituality and how that, you know, I would have said how that could be connected to Mandela Effects, but I didn't hear her say much of that, if at all.
Effect. Any kind of question that came her way that was about the Mandela Effect, she avoided or asked Cynthia to answer, and I get it. She don't want to answer that stuff. I get it. You know, I don't know how popular she is. It's the first I've heard of her. To me, she avoided that and brought it right into Gaia and pushed how big Gaia is. And she's getting into other things. I don't disagree with anything. Everything I think she's saying so far, I agree with and think it's nice, or, you know, nothing's triggering me. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool, that's good, that's good. But I'm just waiting for Mandela Effect information to come out and how she feels about that. Eva's presentation was absolutely fine. It was all about Mandela Effects. That's what I expected. That's why I didn't watch her right away. That's why I didn't watch Cynthia right away. That's why I didn't watch Moneybags right away. Sean, I just didn't bother getting to until later. That other lady, once I saw she wasn't talking about Mandela Effects, I didn't bother finishing it. So Jan Engels Smith, again, stuff that I resonate with because that's how I got to where I am. I see what she's a light worker. She does soul retrievals and she does New Age stuff. So I didn't bother finishing. I don't even think I heard the word Mandela Effect. I probably did because I've listened to it a few times, bounced around. I'm not interested. And there was also Nicole. I don't remember her last name. Same with her. out of all three of those New Age speakers, I like Nicole the best. And they believe this and they think it's great. Nothing against them, but I just feel that's traps, man. That's traps. And listen, I got to where I am because I started with New Age information. And I'm not there now, but when I hear people speak that way, I get it. I understand. So you're talking to your guy. I just don't feel it belonged in a Mandela Effect conference. Okay, so I watched our Kronos Mago's testimony, and that's what it was to me. It was an interview. It was more of a testimony, which was cool. I liked it. And I am very intrigued by his Theta Stream creation project. I did look into it when he first introduced it to me back in November. I understand where he's going. To me, it's like when I was studying quantum physics.
I think what Kronos is doing is completely Mandela Effect.
It was totally Mandela Effect based. His research is because of the Mandela Effect. And Eileen 1 was good. There's still parts of that I still need to look at. Yeah, Cynthia Sue Larson's video was exactly what I expected, and totally brought on point with the Mandela Effect. Eileen 1. I can't say I can honestly assess it. I watched the beginning. It's what I expected. I pieced through it, so I didn't finish that one, we'll say. And I'm so burnt out. I mean, please. These are people I expect that are going to put out Mandela Effect information. Unbiased and I went through all these. I went through all of them, and I kept thinking, wow, I'm just picking out all the crap. And which one was the best? Unbiased and on the fence. You talked about his show, what he's trying to accomplish, what he's doing on his show, why he started his show, etc. And Shane, Unbiased and on the fence, talks about the Mandela Effect, and that's why he's doing what he's doing. Dark Wolf, he did a great job emceeing. Speaking his piece. Moneybags, everything he spoke about was Mandela affected. Kimberly Lynn Hansen, whoa, that was
great example. Moneybags talked about quite a few other things, but integrated the Mandela Effect in every single one. It was always about the Mandela Effect, even if he went off on another topic.
That's it. I just got all these people that there's no need for me to talk about in this video. Me and Orphan Red got into a short discussion on one of the International Mandela Effect Conference chats. I thought her questions were absolutely legitimate. One I felt was somatic, not the question, maybe my answer. What's the difference between truth and information? I would have said, how do you pull the truth out of information? I didn't get that deep into it. I got more into it depends on where you get your information. It's about pulling the truth out of the information. With Eva saying, look within, look at yourself if you have an issue with something, I did, and I want to thank her for that. I didn't take to it too well when she said it. I thought, well, here they go. They're just trying to protect the other people in the conference because they were well aware that everybody was pissed off about some things. And more than one thing. I mean, it was the issue about nobody talking about Mandela Effects. Big one. The thing's called International Mandela Effect Conference. I felt like what Chris did was not directed at the flat Earth community, but telling everybody, hey, these are my beliefs. I believe it's a ball. I believe NASA. Okay, well, tell us your Mandela Effect story that has to do with outer space or whatever, and he really didn't.
I think the flat earthers that came in and bombed chat, I don't agree with that. It was a Mandela Effect conference, and if they're talking, okay, if they were talking about Mandela effects and space comes up or a ball Earth comes up, just look over it, man. They're talking about Mandela effects. I understand that wasn't the case.
Even the flat earthers that came in arguing about what he was talking about balls and coming in the spacesuit. If it was Mandela Effect based, if the storyline was Mandela Effect based, it wouldn't have mattered. That would have been it.
I understand he was just going off on space, a couple of things, and to me at first I thought, wow, he's going out of his way to break balls with anybody that's a flat earther that is here. That's how I personally felt about it.
The flat earth people, half of them are affected. Mainly Brian Stavely affected half of them, please. Those people are there, and you're going to keep bringing up that the Earth is a ball and things that point to that. Well, of course they're going to come out and say something.
you know, was it on purpose?
Chris Sinatra's Moon Angel video.
I didn't mind the first one. The second one I didn't finish. I figured the Challenger itself, that there is a Mandela effect with that, but it's with the year of the explosion.
But this is Chris's presentation. He can present it how he wants. He doesn't believe in the flat Earth theory. You know, I don't believe in the ball theory. The people that are running this should know that a lot of Mandela affected people are flat earthers, and to come out in an astronaut suit and all, and this is causing separation. I preferred when Chris was trying to find out messages. I guess I'm just disappointed with, I felt it could have been more Mandela effect related. That's what this is supposed to be.
You know. Disappointed that there wasn't more Mandela Effect information. I enjoyed the Grissom story because I never heard of it before. I do believe he said something about a Mandela Effect. Look, infinite and quantum, in some timeline, everything happens. So I get the correlation there, but you can do that with anything. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree that the Grissom story should be in a Mandela Effect. And maybe Chris isn't aware that half of the Mandela Effect community are flat earthers. The other half aren't, but half of them are. I mean, come on. You come in with an astronaut suit, do the astronaut space story, that's going to trigger the flat earthers right from the beginning. So I don't think that was thought out very well, unless you guys weren't aware that a lot of Mandela affected are flat earthers. And you had a lot of flat earthers coming in to see, they might not even be affected, or they might be in denial, or they might have trauma, be totally traumatized and seeing Mandela effects. And they come here to see what's going on, and what do they see? Some guy mocking space? Why? I felt like that was a slap in the face to people that are flat earthers. I mean, I really felt that way at the time, and now I feel like the guy just did his presentation the way he wanted to do his presentation. But it still really could have been lined up more with Mandela effects.
Sean Bond. So I actually spent some time with Sean Bond, along with Chris Sinatra and Kimberly Lynn Hansen out in Connecticut. Listen, quite honestly, you know, he was invited to present because he's a friend. I mean, how Mandela affected is the guy? How much? I don't remember us talking many Mandela effects. I could be mistaken, or maybe we did. But it was more of a spiritual, you know, we read some tarot cards, and I sat down on this machine that was putting lights in my eyes and all these spiritual exercises. I really enjoyed them. I thought they were amazing. The thing was sitting in a chair with that light was incredible. Look, I knew his thing was all going to be about Gandalf and magic, and that's the way he interprets things. I don't line up with that stuff. I don't. That's very New Agey. That's even more New Agey than I was when I was in the New Age. When me and Sean hung out and we talked, most of it was, I want to say esoteric, New Agey, even more New Agey than I've ever gotten into. And when he would speak, it was all these big words put together. Yeah, makes sense, sure. I don't know how much you're going to grasp. I couldn't finish listening to his presentation. I didn't bother listening to some of them live. I got a life, as weird as it is. And I want to say this, I went ahead and chatted and spout out my opinion, because that's all I'm doing. I'm putting my opinion out there, and I'm allowed to. And if somebody doesn't like it and they want to get rid of me, go ahead. I'm all for whatever. I don't see that. I'm not being disrespectful or anything else. I'm letting people know this is how I feel. Now,
so by the time I got to Lauren Cannell's
bad move. The mental health thing, I'm starting to think that's, people want to know what shills are. This is what a shill is. This is planted.
I really wanted to assess the entire conference. I may still do it. I feel like I have to, because of the beginning of Lauren's presentation. I think it's important that I get that out. This woman is implying that we're mentally ill, and she fucking did, so I don't want to hear it. I mean, look, if she figures out the Mandela Effect and she figures out we're all mental, she's going to be really famous and popular. Rich. And she implied, go watch the video. Shit, who cares? It's my opinion. entitled to my opinion, especially because this is my channel, and I'll say what the fuck I want. I'm not going to look at chat. I'm not going to pay attention to chat. I'm going to take care of my business. I'm going to listen. Notes. I feel like I need to watch this thing now, just to make sure they don't spread bullshit. Just walking, and I'm sorry, and I'm not sorry. I need to stop saying I'm sorry because I'm not sorry. I don't understand. I'm not a doctor, but the trauma thing, I'm not buying it. Most of us have gone through that, and we're people, we're adults. We get through that, or we don't, or we work through it however we do. But you're not going to tell me whatever traumatic thing I went through, and the traumatic thing Joe Schmo went through, and the traumatic thing that Kelly over here went through, all different times in our lives, brought us to the same point in history where we're all noticing the same changes in history at the same time. And fuck you. And I guess nobody knew what Lauren was putting up. They just let her do it, whatever. How is that allowed in the Mandela Effect community? Well, we're testing and we're going to do research for science. Do your research. That's ridiculous that you're going to have a mental health doctor do it who's already made her decision. Listen to the interview if you think I'm lying. Listen to the interview if you think I'm wrong.
My thought, my opinion. If you don't agree with me, please say something. Give me a reason why I should accept certain things. If I come on here and I say, hey, I don't think a Mandela Effect mental health doctor needs to be in our community because, in my opinion, they've already made their decision. If you find that there's a reason, oh, you want to tell me science and research, and this person's already made their decision, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm not on board with that, so we can skip that aside. You want to do research? Other people have done research. Moneybag 73, his videos, that's research. Okay.
Lauren Cannell's presentation.
So I'm going to take a step back and check out the whole thing and assess it as best I can. But it doesn't matter. I've watched that video 3 times now. I've torn apart Lauren's presentation because of the whole bringing a doctor in mental health thing. I'm so with that. There's no way that this woman should assess us after she's already made her decision. Watch the video. She's already made her decision. That's the issue. But to infer that everybody that's Mandela affected is mentally ill, and she did. You know what? You watch it. I have it taped. So.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it, and I'll help the best way I can. So my background is within clinical mental health counseling. I'm currently a doctoral candidate for the Counselor Education and Supervision program. Prior to that, my master's is in clinical mental health counseling. And then I do have a background of about a 2-year stint within clinical psychology. So I like to kind of have my hand in each part of the clinical aspect of care. And then my current position, I'm mostly focused on research. So I'm a director of global research for the company that I'm affiliated with. And a lot of what we do study is effects of PTSD, more or less how content can impair the brain or change structure of the brain. So that's kind of where my area of expertise is within just more surrounding secondary traumatic stress and PTSD.
I'm really passionate about some things, and I said some really great things, correct things.
I was listening to her thing, and she had a guest on, and I completely disagree with the guest. I think this woman's already made her decisions.
Now, when you're moving into complex trauma and like you stated, it's trauma after trauma, it becomes a little more difficult, right? We've broken down a lot of our protective barriers at that point, but it doesn't mean you don't have the capability to heal still. Even when you're addressing borderline personality disorder. Yes, a lot of times when that's a personality, it's a personality
This is
trait,
a
right?
Mandela Effect conference. Burns me up.
Burns me up.
I've really been putting a lot of thought into this whole thing about bringing a doctor into the Mandela Effect community, I don't care who's in it. I'm sure there are already doctors in it. But for one to label us as having mental issues is a problem. Our community is so small, it'd be easy to turn this into a disease, man. It's not the direction we want to go in.
Tell us a little bit about changes in the brain due to trauma. And then I guess the next question would be just changes in the brain or changes in perception when you learn something new or open your mind to perceiving new information in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there's obviously multiple layers to this question, but just kind of at the most basic format, when we encounter any form of trauma, whether that's to ourselves or witnessing trauma, it makes us a little more hypervigilant. So most people are aware of the concept of the fight, flight, or freeze response. And with that, when we encounter something that is so traumatic or when it's so impactful to us, it can change the way we start seeing the world around us, whether safe or unsafe, whether we start noticing and become more vigilant of just things around us. So think in terms of when you're scared. Say somebody flips on a light too fast in a room and you kind of jump for a second. Your brain automatically starts scanning an entire room very quickly to see if there's any danger, if you have anything to be concerned over. And when that does occur, and especially with trauma, it gets stuck in a loop. So you start attending to your environment far more than the average American or average person. So you think of that with the way you're experiencing certain changes in perceptions, you're more vigilant about everything around you.
I was so burned up with the beginning of Lauren's presentation that I kept erasing. Every time I text something, I would erase it. I'm like, no, I can't put that in there. And I'm like, but this is how I feel. I did. I had half a sentence written, and Fizzy Pop jumped on chat. Susso, what's going on here? Because the woman's talking, and you know, okay, granted it wasn't planned properly, and she just kind of came on cold and had no idea she was talking to a bunch of mentally ill people. Nah, I think that's bullshit. I think the lady knew who she was going to talk to. Especially, she knew she was talking to Mandela Effect people. She got this site together, this .world thing. Okay, she wants to gather results from us going in and taking quizzes and stuff.
When you open yourselves up, and here's the kind of the second layer, I think, to your question, when you start allowing yourself to be a little more open to the new concept or new things that are happening around you, or your new perceptions of items or objects, then you can start opening up your mind to allowing for integration of some of those experiences. And that's when we move into a lot of what we, like Piaget's simulation accommodation. Right. So if your brain doesn't have kind of the little structure of how it should fit in, it'll create a new one. So that's kind of what it seems like you're kind of stuck in between. You still have those templates of objects or things that you've known, but you're seeing them in a very different way now.
We've already been down that path without doctors, okay? We've already discussed those things years ago, many channels. Shit, I did a video 2 years ago claiming that, you know, the Mandela Effect is going to soon be a disease. If you're not affected, I find you to be dangerous anymore, okay? Putting out the information Laura did with her friend Mariah, her doctor friend Mariah, okay? Put this information out on a Mandela Effect conference is very dangerous.
Right. So even when we were talking about some of like the changes in even like words, right? Well, when our brain doesn't need to scan for trauma, it looks at things very quickly. So when you have I think we talked about the Cheez-It box, where everyone calls them Cheez-Its, right? Because that's a social construction.
What those perceptions were until recently. So we did that interview a little while back, and then recently I told her more candidly exactly what was going on.
So even when we were talking about some of like the changes in even like words, right? When you have I think we talked about the Cheez-It box. When you have I think we talked about the Cheez-It box. When you have I think we talked about the Cheez-It box, where everyone calls them Cheez-Its, right? Because that's a social construction. If I hear the word Cheez-Its, my brain doesn't need to look at the box because it's heard it enough times to know it's Cheez-Its. Not a big deal, right? But when I've experienced something traumatic and I'm more vigilant about my surroundings, I might start looking at that box, or I might start looking at other things around me. And when it doesn't align, it can start feeling a little more scary.
Right.
So basically, is the doctor saying that it's a brain function from her point of view? She's not Mandela affected, right?
So I don't just respect Mariah's privacy. I don't want to say whether she is or is not Mandela affected.
That's baloney, because they're friends, and it's her doctor, so she knows about it. So
The wrong thing to do. She wants to join our community, but she won't tell us if she's Mandela affected or not.
Great care not to Mandela affect her before the interview. Because
So even when we were talking about some of like the changes in even like words, right? When you have I think we talked about the Cheez-It box.
Because I didn't want her to be confused and have to
she's your
deal
doctor,
with
right?
sorting
She's your
all of
friend.
that
You hang out with her.
I just wanted her expert opinion on certain topics. It was my idea to discuss the mental health perspective because I personally experienced a lot of trauma.
This shit really triggered me. I love the way she slipped it in, and she's saying, this is pissing me off. I'm trying to be nice, because some people might be mentally ill, and that might have been the way they were affected and became Mandela affected. When in fact, any trauma we've had has lifted a veil and showed us truth. Okay, but she wants to diagnose us with trauma. She is not going to come out and say, you guys are all sane. This is awesome that you're seeing changes in history. This is great. Bring on more changes. Oh, everybody else is insane because they're not seeing the changes. That's not going to happen.
Not needed. Not needed in the Mandela Effect community. You're going to bring a mental health doctor in who's already made their decision?
In the United States, and even in other areas of the world, China, for example, the idea of having mental health issues is so extremely taboo.
Why are they trying to bring the Mandela mental health into the man? Look, I already asked myself quite a few times if I was crazy, okay, on my own. I didn't need some doctor who has already made up her mind. She's already made up her mind. You see this, right? Okay, now if you're saying we're mentally ill, because this is what this woman's saying. She don't think there's changes. She wouldn't say if she's Mandela affected or not. She's not affected. Okay, she's not affected.
Like Brian Stavely says, everyone's Mandela affected. Even if this woman was Mandela affected, even if she's seen those changes, she'd never admit it. She's a brain doctor, people.
Crap. Now we got this person out there wanting to label us because we are not going along with the narrative. Label us as mentally ill. You know, I don't know how cold it was. She must have known. She knows Lauren. She knows Lauren's issues. I'm sure Lauren brought up the Mandela Effect. She knew what she was getting into.
We have a mental doctor coming into Mandela Effect Conference with her own website that is established with the International Mandela Effect Conference.world. So you go on there and you answer these questions and quizzes. So this doctor, who has already made her decision that we are mentally ill because of trauma. See, because I went for a walk figuring, look, I'm not going to start blasting this all over. I just don't think it's a good idea that this happens. I don't, you know. I'm very disappointed with the whole bringing in a mental health doctor, because no matter what happens here, they label us and give us a name and then put us on medication. You know, with this mental health doctor putting out this site, what is it, the IMEC.world or something?
This woman's already made up her mind that we're mentally ill. Pretty big problem with that person doing the tests.
But this woman who has already decided we're ill is the one getting the results.
So no, I'm very against this whole quiz thing, this whole IMEC.world thing. I think the IMEC conference was really done well and excellent the first time around. And this one online, I think, I don't care that I was in it. I had no idea who these other speakers were. I stated that in a video. I even said something else in another video that I erased it. Now I'm wishing I kept in. I was being all politically correct. Don't want to upset anybody because everybody's so fucking sensitive. See, I know I said it passionately and I said it right passionately. So I don't know how many times I got to say it, or this doctor comes in wanting to help us, and then on top of that, they go ahead and come up with this IMEC.world site where you go if you're Mandela affected and you answer all these questions and take quizzes. And the doctor's the one that gets the results.
Okay? She has already made her decision. Stay off of that site. Do not go near it. It is dangerous. That woman is dangerous. Anybody that wants to come into the Mandela Effect conference to explain to us that we have mental issues is dangerous.
Because she's already made up her mind. You have to understand that. She's not going to come back and go, wow, I did all these quizzes and tests, and you guys are absolutely saying you're just seeing changes in history, that's all. She's not going to do that. She's already made up her mind that we're crazy, we're nuts, and we need medication so she could diagnose us and become famous for the Mandela effect, figuring out the Mandela effect. It's truth, man. I'm calling out truth. I think Lauren Cannell needs to step down from having anything to do with the IMEC.
See, I want to say boycott it. I don't even know if I'll post that, but I boycott the fucking thing. I think it's a bad move. They put together this site where you can go and IMEC World Quizzes search. They're doing it for science. My problem with, I don't mind that. My problem with that is this person that she had on, I'm convinced, is already convinced we're all mentally ill. It'd be so easy to put us in a little category and make us all crazy.
This is wrong. Okay. This is wrong. We're not mentally ill. I don't care what her fucking tests come up with. We're not mentally ill, especially if all of us have trauma in our lives. Grow from it, learn from it. We're going to test you to see you're mentally no. Don't let it happen. Fight that. Fight that.
Even her first presentation, man, left a sour taste in my mouth. Trauma. We're all traumatized. That's why we're seeing the Mandela Effect. Bullshit. Okay? If anything, any kind of trauma lifted a veil so we're able to see truth and communicate with it if we try. That's my message. You can communicate with the Mandela Effect.
Lauren Cannell is a part of the committee, I think, for the International Mandela Effect to continue. She needs to resign.
And not one of you think you're mentally ill, right? I mean, oh, well, mentally ill people wouldn't think they're mentally ill. And I have to try and make this correlation. Do you realize if everyone in the Mandela Effect becomes mentally ill by definition, it's just their definition, okay? Their definition has nothing to do with anything. Okay?
Burns me up. This is wrong.
The reason
This
it's
is
diagnosed based
wrong.
off of childhood trauma is because our brain actually develops its neural network by age 2. So if you are exposed to trauma or neglect, it's a lot more difficult to rewire the brain when it was solidified and that's the way it perceives the world.
Great. They took that video down. She's the one getting results, you know that. She's the one that's getting the results and is going to tally them up.
Lauren Cannell's presentation, bringing in a mental health doctor to help us.
People trying to bring mental health doctors into the Mandela Effect. I mean, what a joke. That's how I feel about it now. What a joke. No, that's what that is. It was a joke. Good try.
For borderline personality disorder is dialectic behavioral therapy. I just said that.
What is that sentence doing in the Mandela Effect conference?
It doesn't mean it's still that you're unable to adapt, you're unable to cope with the world, or that
This woman has no idea. She didn't experience the Mandela Effect. She couldn't have her.
I'm not apologizing for this.
Community is so small, it'd be easy to turn this into a disease, man.
I think it's important to understand, I think her talk was dangerous for anyone new coming into the Mandela Effect. I think it's dangerous for anyone that's been in the Mandela Effect. I think Lauren needs to step down. I think Jerry needs to reassess how he's going to, if they're letting him run this thing. Now, he's not the president. Cynthia Sue Larson's the president. Chris Sinatra is the vice president. After that, I guess he's the CEO. Jerry's the one that's kind of emceeing this thing, and he's putting his face out there as the MC and running this thing. He needs to make sure he knows what's inside these talks. He didn't even know what was in Kimberly Lynn Hansen's talk. And that's fine, that was part of her presentation. Well, apparently Lauren wasn't telling anybody about her presentation either, for good reason. I would have hoped if they knew that they wouldn't have put that in. I'm a little insulted by the people that were in the conference that were protecting her. She did not talk about Mandela Effects at all, except for the mental stuff.
But I guess I was disappointed because I didn't understand why some of the speakers were there. It just seemed like they're pushing their agendas. I'm sorry, I'm really seeing something wrong with that. First off, we don't need a group. And it's a shame because Jerry went through a lot to get this put together.
We will find the answer within ourselves, by ourselves, not through any groups or organizations. There's other things going on here that are just too fishy, man. You don't need a Mandela Effect group.
Groups can be infiltrated. So I'd have to say my all in all, overall assessment of the International Mandela Effect Conference Online 2020, even though, and I was a speaker, the truth of the matter is something will come out of this better. But as far as that conference goes, no, the negative things that were going on in this conference outweighed all the good stuff and all the stuff I haven't watched. So even if all that stuff I didn't watch was perfect and on point, this other stuff just outweighed it. It was a failure because there was not enough Mandela Effect material in it. International Mandela Effect Conference needs to disband. They do not represent the Mandela Effect community. They do not represent me. All of this has to start with you. I'm not wrong about that.